Meno Warriors, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley and I share a weekly video with you every Monday around something related to menopause. I have nothing against HRT. I am doing the natural menopause. I have been doing it for years. I went through my menopause early. I was about 41 and done with the whole thing. I'm now 54. And so I just like to share my tips and strategies that have worked for me and the hundreds and thousands of women that I have worked with. I'm also a psychotherapist, a hypnotherapist. I've been practicing for over 17 years. I specialize in anxiety and grief and non-legal divorce. And so I just thought today I really wanted to focus on stress because something major happened to me on Monday and it's very raw still. And I've been experiencing everything. And I thought I just wanted you to be able to, as I'm really in the thick of it right now, just to dive in and give you a good overview of how stress makes your menopause symptoms worse, and that if you can manage stress effectively, you are going to significantly improve your menopause symptoms. So first of all, understanding stress. It's really sort of the body's danger, danger, danger mode. And while we cannot necessarily get rid of stress, we can work on managing stress more effectively. One of the major problems is the fact that our stress receptors, we're always firing off. We always feel like we're in being threatened mode. And it's because our lives are quite stressful. You may be looking after elderly parents or loved ones. You might be empty nesting. Yeah, I've been through that twice, and that's really hard going. You might be struggling with your menopause symptoms, a lack of identity. You might be gaining the weight that you just cannot understand how to get rid of. I can definitely help you with that. And your relationship dynamic might be changing. You may be made redundant and thinking how the heck you ever going to be able to pay your bills in the future. There is so much that goes with this time of life. But on top of that, the news channels, some of the podcasts, some of the doom and gloomers out there, they thrive on maximizing the stress that you are under. You may be surrounded by friends that are just incredibly negative and always focus on the depressing things in life. So first of all, what I would suggest you do is start to reframe stress. You can't get rid of it because it's out there, but honestly, question yourself. Are you in do you need to be significantly stressing right now? Because the little sort of the stressors that run underneath the surface, you feel like you're fizzing, your breath is very shallow, your sleep's a bit poor, but why? Specifically, what is causing you that worry? And I would journal about it, brainstorm it, get it down onto paper, because once you really identify what those stressors are, you can then put a plan in place. I've got my this is my to-do, this is my list that I brainstormed today. I'm quite glad it's blurred out because you probably don't want to see the chaos in my mind right now. And there are, by doing that, I've got a plan, I've got a strategy. I know what I need to get done today. It's a huge amount. And that is where I can work on, and I can tick these things off strategically. So I really recommend you do the same. Brainstorm all the things that you think are stressing you right now. And then also take a step back. Because for the vast majority of us, and those of you that are currently being affected by hurricanes, my heart goes out to you. I know in the world there are some just catastrophic things going on at the moment. And that feeds that stress. It feeds that feeling of uncertainty. So when you're putting on the news, it's just awful at the moment, isn't it? Everywhere you look, there's just unnecessary heartbreak out there and natural disasters happening. So ask yourself where you're at right now, where you're sat. Is your house on fire or your apartment on fire? Hopefully not. Are there huge sinkholes opening up in front of where you live? Hopefully not. Is there a tsunami or a tidal wave coming over where you live? Hopefully not. Now, those are significant stressors. And for those of you, like I said, affected by the hurricanes, a lot of those people are my friends too. So I'm not being glib about this at all. But for the vast majority of us, we are not facing that hurricane. So I really want you to be able to reframe and keep stress within boundaries, because otherwise it does take over your life. As a human being, we have this predisposition to negative thinking. I'm sure it's designed to keep us alive and keep us safe. There is a sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. So our sympathetic nervous system is our freeze, fight or flight response. That's when, if the saber-toothed tiger's coming to attack you, you either run bloody fast or there's hopefully enough of you that you can fight it off. The parasympathetic nervous system is your relaxation response, and it's something that you actively have to activate. So yes, you might say, well, I just find sitting on the settee activating, you know, that relaxes me. But is it really relaxing you? Are you sitting on the settee and doing your deep breathing exercises? Are you focusing on positive things? Or are you sitting on the settee watching the doom and gloom on the news? That is not triggering your parasympathetic nervous response. Your brain is still going, it's in that, it's just feeding that fear. And when you're feeding that fear, or even just feeding uncertainty, you are raising the stress hormones in your body. Now, I've covered this in detail before, but when estrogen falls, sex hormones fall, our cortisol levels do rise. So we have a tendency to feel more stressed, feel more anxious as we go through the menopause. And I would go so far as to say, and I know some people will disagree with me on this, but when you can manage your stress effectively, technically, if your adrenal health is good, your menopause symptoms should be minimal or not even there. Your adrenal glands back up the job of the ovaries, something crazy. And I will link to a video that will explain that in more detail at the end of this video, or indeed, and I'll link it in the description box below as well. So just understanding that you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is the one that makes you feel like you're fizzing, and your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your relaxation and response. When your parasympathetic nervous system is working like it should, your immune system is working well, you're repairing, you're restoring, your brain is flushing out the amyloid plaques, your sleep is improved. So we really need to actively make sure, and it's people say actively make sure that your relaxation response is given time to work. You want to encourage the work of your parasympathetic nervous system. That includes eating foods designed for humans, drinking clean water, deep breathing, getting out into nature, and doing things that humans naturally would do. If you can think, how would my ancestors behave? And follow a similar lifestyle to that, you're not going to be too far off the mark. When we're in constant stress, belly fat goes up. Right now, and I'll share my story in a minute, my belly is fluffy within just a few days. And nothing's changed as far as my eating and drinking goes. My sleep is rubbish, and stress levels have been off the roof this last week. And I can see it in my body. I've got a sty developing in my eye. I've got ulcers, and my digestion has been a bit kind of funky as well this last week. That is all down to stress. Long-term stress kills. So you really want to be aware of it and manage it and reduce it as much as you can do. And that might mean not watching the news as often as you perhaps do, and focusing on the podcasts and the information that is peaceful and uplifting, rather than the stuff that is the doom and gloom, and possibly create some separation between you and those friends that are always ruminating about all the bad stuff that's going on, because energies, it affects you. If you've ever been close to somebody who's in panic mode, I was stuck in the lift once with a lecturer, my French lecturer, and the lift stopped. I've been stuck in masses of lifts in my life, so I'm quite used to it by now. Well, I could feel the panic. She was fine for a couple of minutes, and then she literally started this massive panic meltdown, and I could feel it. It was almost like, don't get near me. No, because I'm calm, and I could feel it coming into my body just because of her energy starting to sort of negatively affect mine. And I really had to work hard to keep my energy calm. And I spoke to her actually really strongly to stop her panicking. And I think it helped her a lot as well, because I just took control. I mean, I was probably a third of her age. She's the lecturer. I'm just this measly student. But because I thought this is kind of like one of those life or make or break situations, and I spoke very strongly to her, and she calmed down. Thank goodness, because I could feel it. So our energies do transfer to each other. So just be really mindful of that. So when you're in the stress response, it does affect your immune system. It affects the brain. It affects your relationships. It affects your sugar levels in your body. It affects the inflammatory markers in your body. And so I'm just going to break that down in a little bit more detail today. But just briefly, before I do that, because this is so raw for me right now, I just wanted to really dive into the stressors that I've been that have happened to me this last week. So on Monday, in fact, I found out early Tuesday morning, because the information was released Monday evening. the business, or one of the businesses that I've been working on, literally, I've given my blood, sweat, and tears to over the last 7 years, got literally ripped out from underneath my feet. Not just mine, our entire business network. So financially, all the money that I've been making as part of running my business has gone, or will go at the end of this month. And more importantly, something that I've noticed the most is the fact that I will no longer be working with this incredible community of men and women that I've been so privileged to work with over the last 7 years of my life. Many of us will continue working together. We will find something that comes of it. But I've been through everything. I've been through the grief, I've been through the anger, I've been through the frustration, I've been through the denial, and right now I'm sort of moving into the reconciliation period. And has been like a period of grief. I can still burst into tears at the drop of a hat. It's ridiculous. But I have given literally everything to this business for the last 7 years. And I absolutely loved it. I thought I was going to be doing this until the day I died. So it has really had a big impact on so many of us. But as the result of that, I have decided to start up a completely free Facebook community, not just for the customers that I've worked with in the past, but for anyone who wants to learn more about healthy living, mental health, holistic health, natural menopause. We're going to have, I'm literally structuring it so it becomes a really inclusive community. So we're going to have lots of live Q&A sessions about anything and everything. We're going to have wine and wellness live sessions, because why not? And I might even start to run a few retreats as a result of that Facebook group. And it's somewhere that I can pour into you specifically if you'd like to join it. And I just want to be able to continue to help my customers, but also help anyone. You, if you want to be part of that Facebook group, I will pin it in the comments below, the link, and I'll also add a link to it in the description box. I'd love for you to join it, because it is going to be a safe space for women only, and to create a community together that supports each other, and where I can just continue to pour into you. And that probably would never have happened had I not lost this amazing opportunity that I lost when I found out about it on Tuesday morning. As a result of that, my sleep has been pants. Obviously, my immune system is being stubbornly annoying about it, with the sty and the digestive problems and the ulcers, etc. But this is what happens when we're in stress. The odd thing that I really noticed was my joint pain, my muscles, my joints are in pretty good nick. I have noticed the last few days, it's like I've had acid in my neurons, in my nerve tissue. I feel like my joints are twingy. I'm less mobile. I feel more cramped over. And it's just like there's this almost like poisonous fizz that's been going on in my body, around my joints, under my skin. And it wasn't until I was preparing for this video, and I just thought, that's stress. And it is, because it does affect our immune system. So I just wanted to sort of let you know that when you're in serious stress, it's not about, we can't remove the stress. I cannot change what's happened to our company. I can acknowledge the feelings that I'm going through, because they're very, very valid feelings, and work on a plan to get through that stage. You should never, ever suppress your feelings, because they will come back and bite you in the bum at some point in the future. But what I do recommend you do is you acknowledge the phases as you go through them. There are 5 actual technical phases of grief. And grief is not linear. You may go through some of the phases, you may go through them all, you might go through them in a different order. When you're under stress, cortisol actually triggers the liver to release glucose into your bloodstream, so that you can run away or you can fight. That is the whole point of that stress response. It's priming you to stay alive. That excess sugar is not coming from the food that you're eating. It's being pulled out of your muscle proteins. It's even coming from fat that's stored in your body. And obviously this can lead to the accumulation of belly fat. We have 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors around our belly as we do in any other part of the body. And so, as estrogen falls and your cortisol naturally rises in menopause, if you're under stress, that situation is getting way worse, because of the ever increasing cortisol and the sugars being flooded into your body. Now, if you're not running away or fighting, what happens to that cortisol? It stays stuck in your body, and it affects you mentally. It affects you on so many different levels. So that's why, one of the reasons why exercise is so important for you, because it's that opportunity to get rid of that cortisol. So instead of fighting or running away, if you can do exercise, ideally strength training, because that's going to help to strengthen your bones, it strengthens your muscles, it helps to literally it sucks some of the glucose out of your bloodstream directly, muscles do. And it basically means it keeps your metabolism boosted. So people say, oh, I stop, reduce what I'm eating because I want to lose weight. That is totally the wrong way to do it. You need to eat fat, you need to eat food to burn fat properly. And if you want to join my free Facebook group, we'll be going into that in more detail too. I'll actually do probably a live Q&A specifically on that, because I really want you to understand with confidence how you can burn excessive fat, protect your hormones, keep your metabolism boosted, and also lose weight properly. Of course, long-term stress or even short-term stress really affects your sleep as well. And sleep is when we restore. That's when the brain flushes out those amyloid plaques. It's when your body heals itself. It's also when you burn fat. And if you're sleeping badly, the next morning or the next day, you're going to be looking for the carbs. Be really mindful of that. At the moment, when you've slept badly, make sure that you stack up on your protein as your first meal of the day and keep eating plenty of protein throughout the course of the day, because that keeps you fuller for longer. It's good for you. It'll help to keep you away from those fast carbs like the refined sugars, the cakes, the cookies, the croissants, which are going to increase your stress and increase the blood sugars and increase your insulin, which is your fat storing hormone. And that also has a negative impact on how you feel about yourself. It also increases your fatigue and your irritability and the brain fog. So when you are under stress, that's when you really have to think, okay, I'm actually going to look after myself. And this is what I've done this last week. I've taken more time out in nature. I'm allowing myself to get a little bit more creative, taking some of the pressure off myself to perform all the time and be productive all the time, drinking loads of water. And protein and healthy fats have been like my major source of food, and vegetables this last week. And when you do that, you're at least giving yourself a good framework to work through the stress. And of course, exercise. I've been working out every single day too. So when you're under severe stress, the vast majority of us give up then. We think, I can't be bothered to look after myself. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. That's when you owe it to yourself to do it the most. That is when you really need to buckle down and not allow the stress for you to throw in the towel, because you're just contributing to the stress. And you don't live in an isolated world either. I'm sure you've got loved ones around you, colleagues that, they'll put up with you for a while, but you have to find a way to look after yourself too, because we all have things going on in life. And while you do want the big wide world to stop and just say, slow down, it doesn't. And you have to keep performing. You have to function. And you may not be functioning as well. I mean, this week for me, I've been all over the shop, but I have created that framework to help me get through it as well as I can. And I honestly feel like I'm getting to that stage now where my brain's getting a little bit more normal. My emotions are settling down a bit, and I can think a lot more productively and clearly sometimes, because I've been looking after myself. So you do owe it to yourself to really lay down the law and say, right, my life is crazy. What can I do to provide a firm foundation to manage that craziness as effectively as possible? And it's only you who can do it. So one of the reasons why I have been feeling like, and I've been sore in my joints and my muscles, is the fact that cortisol actually tightens the fascia. So the connective tissue that surrounds our muscles, in our tendons, in our ligaments. And I have honestly noticed I've felt like more contracted, and I've really stretched myself out. I'm doing it regularly. I'm trying to stretch myself when I'm on my chair. I'm moving around as much as I can do, because it does make that fascia contract. And that could well be one of those reasons why I've got that sort of feel like that I've got that nervy pain in my joints right now, is down to that stress contracting the fascia. So again, another really great reason to manage your stress effectively, so that you don't feel like that, because if you feel like you're crumpled up and contracted, it's horrible. So chronic stress, long-term stress, also affects the brain. So the amygdala is like our reptilian brain. That's what deals with our instincts and is also associated with our stress response. The hippocampus, which is related to learning and memory, that actually shrinks when we're faced with chronic stress. So the amygdala, you see more increased activity, and the hippocampus does contract. You see it on brain scans, it actually gets smaller. So it's a bit like the tightening of the fascia around the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments. Similar sort of thing happens to our logical part of our thinking brain. And this can really affect how you give yourself clarity, because through menopause we have brain fog. So it is harder to have your clearer thoughts. But when you're under chronic stress, or indeed acute stress, acute is when it's short term. But I suppose I'm probably in acute stress from the news that I received on Tuesday. And I have no intention of letting that become a chronic stress because of the debilitating factors that it has in your body. Literally every aspect of your body is negatively impacted by stress. So, it's important that you give yourself space for more creativity. I'm going to start knitting again because I enjoy knitting. I'm not very good at it. I'm going to have to learn. I don't even know how to do it. I'm going to have to learn how to do it again. But I remember when I did do it years ago, I quite enjoyed it. I've only ever knitted 2 jumpers in my life, and I had to buy a book to teach me how to learn. So I'm going to go back to that because it's important that you find what works for you too, and just allow yourself a bit of space. No matter how crazy life is, when you can allow your brain a little bit of space from the fizz, that's when your creative thoughts come. That's when your aha moments happen. And if you're always pushing them down, if you're always, which I've been doing that a lot the last 7 years, because this business has been all encompassing. I think about it pretty much every waking second of my day. And so I'm always having to get rid of this addiction of thinking about this business every waking hour or second of the day. And it's weird. I feel like I'm grieving the loss of a beloved family member in some way. So now I have to deal with that stress, and I have to deal with the fact that business is no longer going to be there, and also work out how the heck am I going to make up the shortfall from that business, and how can I continue to support my community who trust me to support them and who I love supporting. By allowing a little bit of more creativity into my day, I've had all sorts of really cool ideas that I can do. And the same applies to you. Even if you're in like a corporate job, you've been doing the same thing year in, year out. You might have started an apprenticeship when you were 16 and you're now 56. And you're thinking, I would not know how to do a single thing out there, in the big wide world with social media or technology or whatever it might be. There is so much that you can do. And yes, you may not know how to do it now. I didn't know how to do a thing when I joined up with this company 7 years ago. I've learned so much, and it is about learning. It's the same with this knitting. I don't know how to knit. I'm going to have to learn again, but it doesn't mean to say I can't do it. I'm just going to have to commit to learning. And when we all have an open mind around that learning, it gets really exciting because you can then think, oh, but I could do that. And even if you don't know how to do it, you can learn how to do whatever that thing is for you. It doesn't mean going back to university or college or whatever it might be for several years. There is so much that you can do. So I really encourage you to take time out to do the things where your brain kind of switches off a bit, to allow those creative thoughts to come through. And when those start to come through, write them down, because it's really exciting. Maybe just keep a little book. I've got a pad here, just a little book there. And when I get like, hey, that was a cool idea, it goes in my book. And not all those ideas will come to fruition, but some of them will. Also, the liver's ability to detoxify the body is restricted when you are under severe stress. So that means you've got the accumulation of toxins in the body, which makes you hang on to more fat, which makes you feel more stressed. It becomes this vicious cycle. So it is all about, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you manage stress and you reduce it wherever possible. How can you actually reduce it? Remove processed foods, cut down on your alcohol, remove refined sugars, treat your body like a human body rather than a thing and a robot. Get out into nature. Take a vitamin D3 supplement, and if you can combine it with a K2 as well, that's going to serve you. The K2 tells your body where to put calcium. I have got a video that goes into that in depth, but just know if you're getting a D3 supplement, include it with K2. You can always Google Why do I need D3 and K2? If I can find the link to that video that I did not long ago, I will also link it in the description box. But stress also negatively impacts your gut microbiome. I've been talking a load about gut health recently. It's basically the balance of the not so healthy bacteria and the good bacteria in your bodies. The probiotics and the prebiotics. The prebiotics come from like the fiber that you eat and the vegetables and the fruit that you eat, and the probiotics are the healthy bacteria that you can get in fermented foods, some yogurts, that sort of thing. Fermented foods, things like kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha. And in fact, actually, in my free group, I hosted a brew your own kombucha group a couple, 2, 3 years back now. I'm going to be doing mini challenges in there as well. And I'm thinking I might actually resurrect the kombucha challenge in there once we sort of got our feet under the table. And for those of you who want to learn how to brew your own kombucha, it is a fermented food. It's really lovely. Well, I like it. Some people don't like kombucha, but I absolutely adore kombucha. And if you brew it yourself at home, you save yourself a fortune. It's a lot healthier than the shop bought stuff, and you can do different flavors too. So it's probably one of the challenges that I will do. I'm also getting better at sourdough bread. So I think, maybe 4 months down the line when I've got really good at it, we'll do a sourdough challenge. And I just really want you to have fun with it. We're going to do non-toxic products. I'm not affiliated with any company, by the way. I just, understanding how to clean your house and not fill it with fumes and et cetera, et cetera. Mindset challenges, water challenges, protein challenges, gratitude challenges. I've got a lot in. I did a lot of brainstorming yesterday on it, so I'm really excited about how I can sort of deliver fun value to you as well. So we will be possibly doing a kombucha group as well. So, I think it's very important that you manage the stress that you allow yourself to watch and listen to and be party to. Yeah, I think it's important that we have an awareness of what's going on around in the world, but you can probably catch up every sort of 3 or 4 days. That's what I tend to do, because I just find it so depressing, and start to filter out the noise that is literally causing you to fizz. So just a few tips on how to bring down your stress response. Get out into nature. It's what we're designed to do. Take walks out in nature. Deep breathe in nature. Breathing is one of the quickest, easiest things that you can do to bring down your stress response. If you struggle with panic attacks, start deep breathing. Also, incidentally, if you do struggle with panic attacks, and I know you might think this is a really weird thing to do, or that she suggested that I should do, because I felt something weird coming on the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. My lips started trembling. And I started to feel like I was really fizzy. So I just pressed play on my workout and did my workout. But that was a buildup of stress hormones. Now, if you are in the situation where you're in a panic attack or you can feel one coming on, first of all, just start deep breathing. In through your nose, hold it for a few seconds, and out gently through your nose or your mouth. Don't worry about it too much, and hold it out for a few seconds and repeat that. Call it box breathe. There's several different techniques, but box breathing is really easy to remember. So maybe breathe in for 6, hold it for 6, out for 6, hold it expired for 6, and in for 6, hold it for 6, breathe out slowly for 6, and then hold empty lungs for 6. That will bring down that panic, that stress response. If you are in a place where you can actually do physical activity, one of the best things you can do is star jumps. If you've got dodgy knees, do fast air squats or something, because it goes back to that fight and flight response. So your cortisol and adrenaline is pinging, your sympathetic system is like on high alert, your amygdala is going, something's going to attack me, you're in panic mode. And then your body is releasing the glucose into your muscles, into your body, so that you can fight or you can run away. But of course, if you're stood there or just sat there and you're not using any physical activity, that stress, those stress hormones are staying stuck in your body. So one of the best ways to do them is either press play on your workout if you're able to, run, star jump, whatever it is to get your heart up and running, and move as fast as you can. Whatever it is, whatever you can do, do it. And if you're not able to do that, then the deep breathing. And just know that stress will always be part of your life, but how you manage it will really impact how you live the rest of your life. So If you'd like to join my free Facebook community, just click the link and I would love to see you in there. If you just want to kind of think about it for a while, that's absolutely fine. There's no sell-by date on it, but it would be lovely to get to know each other better in that Facebook community. Thank you so much for your company today. And if you are under significant stress right now, I feel you. There is a way through it and you will get there too. But with all my love, and chat to you soon.